Hi there, and thank you for joining us for more. I'm Sheba Varghese, and the host of this show. And appreciate that ours is a different kind of talk show. As you've been able to pick up by now, I am very new to this format and to having a show, and so thank you for being patient with me. The guests we have on the show, they come here as real people who have their own issues and challenges, questions and motivators. They too have moments of self-doubt, of disappointment, and maybe even loss of faith at times. And in that way, they are just like us. They have been invited onto the show because they have kept pushing when some of us would have given up. They kept a vision for their lives in their forefront, and they tested their hypotheses and sought answers. Many things can inform how a person chooses to be, and if and when they accept the factors to be most influenced for them have to come from the inside, then it makes a big difference. I met our guest today at a Bruce Springsteen concert. We were in the same box enjoying the music and what the boss represented to both of us, and I was drawn to his being. Louie and I have met and spoken several times since then, and we are both products of our respective environments and therefore quite different. I'm struck by Louie's willingness and desire to stay in relationship with me regardless. Louie is clearly somebody who seeks more and is about more than just lip service. He makes an effort on an ongoing basis, and today he's sharing his own journey with us and his search for truth. This is what More as a show is about, the personal journey towards self. Last week we spoke with Dr. Sherry Cooper about her most recent book, The New Retirement. On the show she spoke of the difference self-awareness makes in retirement. Before her, we had Peter C. Newman on the show, and he spoke of the need to have a voice throughout our lives. Joining us today is, Joe, this one's for you, Louie Mele, someone growing in self-awareness and who is willing to use his voice to share with us today. Louie began his career with McDonald as a crew member in his hometown of Windsor, Ontario. He advanced through various managerial positions and took his Canadian experience overseas to Italy, where he assumed the role of Director of Operations, and then years later was named the President of McDonald's Italy. Louie has since then ended his career with McDonald's as the President of McDonald's Restaurants of Canada. Louie serves on the boards of several organizations and is the chair of the CRFF's Fitness and Nutrition Roundtable, which is a committee he was instrumental in establishing 3 years ago. So thanks for joining us, Louie.
It's great to be here.
Thank you very much. Because what I want to talk to you about, since we've had so much opportunity to interact, and I have had a chance to get more of a sense of you.
We have.
I want to talk a little bit about kind of awareness itself. When you think about the life that you've lived and the paths that you've traveled and the places that you've been, what have you really been most aware of?
Well, it's really not something that I've thought about a lot, to be quite frank with you.
Sure.
You're aware of where you are. You're aware of the places that you've been, but just the awareness of what I've done, what I've accomplished. Aware of the goals that I've had, and that I've been able to achieve them. But it's not something that I really spent a lot of time thinking about as I'm doing it. Sure.
No, sure, and I don't think that that's unusual. So let me maybe elaborate differently, because you're right. Awareness is going to be it's going to be influenced by so many things at any given time. When I ask you about your awareness, Louie, I'm wondering about inside yourself. Were there any real kinds of things going on for you that you were most cognizant of?
I mean, with me, it was always about just growing, continuing to grow. I mean, even inside myself. Yeah. Grow as a person, as an individual.
Wow.
As a husband.
Wow.
As a father to 2 kids. Now as a grandfather. You're aware of those things, and
But why do you dismiss that? Like, that's like huge. That's like everything the show is about, and it's the thing that most people don't do. But yet for you, it's kind of like, I never really thought about much, but I don't get it. Like, that's huge, Louie. So talk a little bit about some of those things.
But sometimes it just happens. It's spontaneous, more than anything.
You said growth as a person. Yeah. That's not something that's spontaneous. That's not a moment in time. That's not
moment in time.
Inspired by a full moon.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I guess, where did that come from? Why were you wanting to grow yourself as a person?
Well, I don't know. I think some of the values that I got as growing up in Windsor, from my dad, working hard. He had 5 of us in Windsor in the late 50s, early 60s. 70s. He worked at 3 or 4 jobs at the same time.
Wow.
We had a, not a good lifestyle, but a fine lifestyle. And those are the kind of values that I wanted to instill in my kids. I got married very young. I started very young. I started at McDonald's when I was 17 years old, 18 years old. Just wanted to continue to grow. I enjoyed the aspect of trying to grow to the next level, whatever that level may be.
And now as a 17-year-old, like how many 17-year-olds are hardwired to think that way? So there had to have been more, there's something profoundly had to have made you kind of think, this is probably not a bad place to spend some time to focus.
Yeah, I'm not sure what was hardwired. I'm not sure, but I had to do it. I got married very young.
So there's a lot of survival.
Yeah, a lot of
and
survival.
all those things.
I'm not sure I'd call it survival, but you can. But sure, I mean, we had to survive, and we did.
In spades.
In spades. And 36 years later, we're still married, right?
That's great.
So it's
3 grandkids. Yeah.
4 grandkids.
4. Sorry.
They're doing all great. So it's been a wonderful 36 years, and I've loved every minute of it.
And so what about through those moments of times when, since you were so focused on personal growth and kind of getting to your next objectives or achieving your next objectives, any times in there where you remember, while you knew that was your desired objective, are there any times where maybe you weren't so clear on that or so true to that as a focus? Oh,
sure. I mean, in the very early days, as much as, I loved what I was doing, I thought, I wanted more. And so I left what I was doing and I went somewhere else.
Wow, okay.
But I didn't enjoy it. I wasn't having fun at what I was doing. It wasn't my passion. But I had to leave it. I had to leave where I was, go somewhere else, and then I ended up coming back. I only did it for 6 months. It was really a job at that time. Where, with McDonald's, I never considered it a job. I was passionate for the business. I enjoyed what I was doing. Had fun every single day. I just woke up every morning. I just waited to go to work. Just loved every minute of it.
Wow, that is
It wasn't work to me. It was taking care of customers, taking care of employees, helping others grow.
But then, so why did you leave even for that 6 months stint?
Because I was too young. I didn't realize it. I didn't realize the opportunities back then. As an 18-year-old, I think I was 18 and a half when I left. I thought there was bigger opportunities than doing something else. I didn't realize the opportunities that McDonald's has given me at that point in time.
And so kind of, if you think about the difference that 6 months kind of hiatus made in your life, is that too far-fetched to try to find some kind of permanent, kind of life-changing effect?
Oh, it was life-changing to the fact that I came back to McDonald's and this is what I wanted to do. Because that's what I was passionate about. And 35 years later, I'm still passionate about the business, about the restaurant business. At the end of the day, I consider myself a restaurateur. It just happened to be this brand called the Golden Arch. It just happened to be 1,400 restaurants and 77,000 employees and 3 million people a day.
This is not a plug for McDonald's.
But I consider myself a restaurateur. If I was running Louie's place, restaurant.
I can actually vouch for Louie because we went for lunch just recently and we both had hamburgers. We didn't have to. There was a great menu, but we chose to go for the hamburgers. I did the salad, he did fries, but that's not the point. He did the hamburger, so he does believe in it. Anyways, you know what? Hold that thought. Hold any more thoughts that we're going to have just as it relates to this, because we're going to be back and we're just going to speak more with Louie in a moment. So thanks.
What are you learning from the broadcasts you watch? What information are you getting? Dex TV brings you focused economic news from our correspondents around the globe. More than charts and graphs, we broadcast hundreds of interviews every week, giving you a different viewpoint on the most relevant stories. Our purpose is clear: to provide you with the tools and the information you need to make informed economic decisions. Visit us at dex.tv.
hi, welcome back to More. I'm Sheba Varghese and I'm here today with Louie Mele. Louie, thank you so much for being so open and sharing some of the things that you were most aware of as you were kind of going through your experience at McDonald's. And I guess not even just exclusive to what your time at McDonald's, I'm really curious about how that awareness kind of showed up in some of the choices that you had to make in your own life. You talked about one in terms of sticking with McDonald's versus not, but then you also talked about there's a whole other 36 years. So kind of, can you share any of the tougher choices or how you kind of navigated through those moments of choice?
Yeah, I mean, one of the toughest choices, during those 36 years really was, I moved our family 13 different times. If you were to ask our kids, where home is, I'm not sure they can give you an answer. And I don't feel good about that.
Really? Why?
Everybody's got a home. And, I moved them around, so often. I'm not sure, now they have a home. They've been where they're at right now for a period of time. But, as they were growing up, we moved 13 different times. Mind you, I think they're much better people because of that.
Totally, Louie. I can say that that's definitely an experience that I can relate to as well. We've moved around quite a bit, and it's a benefit for a child doing
without
this.
a doubt. The kids, spent 8 years in Europe. I
don't think that they begrudge that hardship.
No, and they didn't, and they learned a lot. They love that part of it. But again, they didn't spend a lot of time in any one place. When someone tells me where I'm from, where's home? I mean, it's Windsor. Windsor's home. That's where I grew up. You ask the kids that question, they really can't answer that. So, that was tough. That was a tough choice to, 13 different times, move the family, get up and go, new schools for the kids, new friends for my wife.
So where did that decision come from? Because you grew up, like you said, in one place, and then yet you felt...
Well, I guess just in me wanting to continue to grow, wanting more in that area. Quite frankly, sometimes at the expense. My wife had to give up her job, for example, to move. When we moved to Europe, she was a registered nurse, and she had to give up her job, and she loved what she was doing. She was in neonatal care and just absolutely loved that. But the kids, when they moved to Europe again, they were at their pre-teen ages at that time. So they had to leave all their friends.
Sure.
But they have a whole new set of friends over there, and now they're all over Facebook, and it's an international Facebook, right? So that was tough. Those are tough choices that you make. In the end, absolutely the best choices we ever made.
Good for you. That's
but
great.
When you're making those choices, you're not sure.
So how did you make them? How did you get through that? I mean, Debbie I've met, and she's a wonderful person. And Deb.
Together we'd sit down and talk about it, and let's move. We just became adventurous, quite frankly. I mean, it was an adventure. Every move was a new adventure, no matter where we went to, and we looked at it as an adventure. Even today, we're looking. What's the next move? It's going to be a new adventure.
Did you give yourself permission to let adventure be a driver in your life from those points on?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it was a driver. I mean, because I enjoyed it. I thrived on it. You imagine just going to a new country, not knowing anybody.
Yeah.
But it drove me to want to learn the language even better, learn the culture even better. Whether even in moving to the U.S.
Right.
I never lived in the U.S. But we lived there for 8 years, and you got to meet new friends.
And so what again was adventure the driver?
It was adventure.
For that?
Yeah, it's adventure. It's I just thrived on learning. It's really learning. That's what you're doing. You're learning a whole new aspect of the job.
Now, was that related to a choice for McDonald's, or was that related to a choice for Louie?
I think it was both, quite frankly. Obviously McDonald's asked if you wanted to move, and you have that choice to make. So I think it's a mutual agreement on moving to the next step. Don't have to do it. In fact, a lot of people don't.
What about the choices? What about the times when you didn't necessarily jump up to the next step? Did those moments occur?
Oh yeah, they did. And in fact, before we moved to Europe, I had another opportunity to move to Europe, and I said no because I wanted to be in Italy. And I guess I only wanted to do that because I spoke the language.
Well, you're Italian, and so of course that spoke to you. You were home.
Yeah,
There was home.
But that was another. I mean, you talk about difficult choices. My parents, came to North America to give their family a better life after World War II. And here I am telling them now, I'm going back to Italy. I mean, that's the last thing they wanted to hear. That, you know, here I was leaving and going to the country that they left. You know, because they remember Italy. You know,
the way you remember Windsor,
right?
Or you know, different times.
So I mean, and then you know, they didn't even go back to Italy until I brought them back.
Wow.
Like 30 years after they left.
That's poetic justice. That's beautiful.
But it was wonderful.
Yeah. That is that. You know, and then when you think about the choices, though, what you said you didn't take the one transfer to another country, but let's kind of go personal. Let's not take it into the way that kind of played out just on the outside. But Louie, you're actually a very complicated person that I've had a chance to. You know, I think Ronald McDonald beside you, it can deceive people. It's kind of deceiving, right? It makes us think you're this super go-lucky, simple kind of guy, but you're not. You're anything but simple. Go-lucky you are, but you're not simple. And so, you know, what was kind of happening inside for you that you were trying to reconcile for yourself?
I mean, just for myself, I mean, I just, again, like I said, I wanted to continue to grow.
So how are you actively growing? Yes, the adventure side is a really real thing, and I don't diminish
new challenges, new opportunities.
And was that on the professional side?
Both sides. I mean, because the professional side would then lead into your personal side, or your personal side would lead into your professional side.
Give us a real life example of how that showed up for you, because I'm not necessarily sure.
Well, I mean, if you know, I would the people that I would meet, you know, hundreds of operators around the world, in different countries, and then you know we'd have dinners, social dinners, and social gatherings, and you'd meet them as friends, and some of them that I haven't seen in 20 years. Are still my best friends today. You know, we talk to each other, we call. When I go to Italy, and you know, we go all the time. You know, if I don't call them, you know, I'm in big trouble.
That's great.
So we've become friends, personal friends, you know, from that business experience. And the kids, you know, the kids have to see these people too when we go back, because they became friends with them. So,
what strikes you when you think about all those people that you've met then, and you've had the opportunity to really develop some wonderful relationships? Obviously, there are others that you didn't develop such close relationships with. When we kind of go back to just the awareness for a little while, what have you been most aware of as you noted, as you interact with people even?
Well, that I enjoy it. I guess that's what I became aware of. You know, I enjoy interacting with people.
And in terms of the differences in people that we see and out there, you had an objective, as a constant ongoing objective, to grow, to further who you were, to understand yourself, at least if that... But yet we both know that that's not really something that all the masses kind of relate to or aspire to.
No, I mean, you have to have a vision. You have to have something that you aspire to, a vision, call it what you want. But you know, that's what my vision was, to continue to grow.
Did that influence the people that you saw it in your life?
No, not at all. No, because
really?
I mean, whether it was a you know, a crew person cooking French fries. I mean, I enjoyed spending time to that 17-year-old and talking to him.
Sure.
In fact, that's one of the things that I enjoyed the most, is talking to that 17-year-old and trying to inspire that person to do more. You know, because you know, people talk about the dead-end job. It's not a dead-end job.
Well, again, you've proven that.
And,
I mean, but you know what? Let's pause for a moment. We're going to come back for more with Louie and just some more of my final thoughts. Stay tuned.
Where does your broadcast go to cover economic news? There is a world beyond Wall Street. The impact of human, political, and cultural events drastically affect your life. Dex TV is the world of human economics. We are wherever the news is, with correspondents spanning the globe. We are where the action is, covering world events and regional changes that impact you directly. Visit us at dex.tv.
Thanks for joining us as we speak with Mr. Louie Mele, former president extraordinaire of McDonald's Canada. Louie, again, your openness is great, and I really appreciate it because it isn't necessarily something that people come to these interviews really comfortable volunteering. So I appreciate that.
Well, I mean, it's well, thanks. I mean, it's not easy to do. You know, I had the opportunity to look at most of the interviews.
Thank you.
Prepping for the show, but it's just not an easy thing to do. I mean, you know, the guests that you've had have been all very, very successful in their own endeavors, it's not easy to open up. In fact, it's very, very difficult to open up. Not sure why, but it is.
But we're not talking about anything bad, and
No,
so that's what
no.
strikes me the most.
Well, I think, again, all of us and the guests that you've had, we are just so focused on, more in life, more, doing more, living more, living. And that's what we've done our whole lives. A lot of times we just don't take the time. I know I haven't, quite frankly, take the time to reflect back and, look inside and just take a step back. You're on the go all the time.
But you're right. I understand that. But I don't necessarily see it as that the focus is on living. I see that then on the focus on the day-to-days of life. Because I guess when I think of living and when I think of these types of discussions, I don't know how we can necessarily truly live unless we ask ourselves,
Yeah, we need to take the time to reflect, to meditate, to think back.
Why? What difference do you think that would make? If it's such a big thing, Sherry talked about it last week, why don't people do it then?
Well, I'll tell you what I do. And I'm not, no one will ever see me meditate, quite frankly. I'm just not that type of person.
That will be our next show, Louie teaching us to meditate.
No, but I run. I'm a runner.
Okay.
And I don't put the headphones on. I don't listen to the Walkmans when I run. But that's when I'm thinking. That's when I process, what, my day. When I process what I want to do. That's my meditation, is when I run in the mornings. I think we need, and I've done that for 30 years. So I guess that's kind of was my way of looking at myself from the inside, even though I didn't realize it at the time. But I would process every morning as I run.
Well, and that's good that you made the time to do that regularly. I guess one of the things that because you're right, obviously it's not necessarily something that people are so comfortable in. These aren't conversations that people are so used to having. But I guess I'm curious as to what makes them not appropriate in a lot of people's minds.
I don't think it has a question of whether it's appropriate or not appropriate. It's a question of whether you're just comfortable doing it or not comfortable. Most of us are hardwired to be comfortable at talking about our business or what we do or what we've accomplished. That's what we're hardwired for. We're taught to do that.
I don't believe that's what we're hardwired for. I believe we're hardwired for truth. I believe we're hardwired for relationships of substance.
Well, I don't disagree with that, but
it's not the party kind of topics that we.
Well, it's just tough to open up that way. And you have to open up, and you have to kind of shed a few layers.
Sure.
As much as I was the president. If you were to see my business card or whenever I signed internal memos, it was always your partner and best customer. I never ever signed the president. I'm the fry guy. I started cooking French fries. I'll end up cooking French fries again. But I was the fry guy. You got to shed some layers as you're dealing with people or talking to people. And when I was talking to a 17-year-old kid, I'm not the president. Even though I am, they know who I am. But I'm the fry guy, and that's how I would talk to them.
So then, you make me think it's less really around awareness or the comfortable, the appropriateness of these types of discussions, but it's really about realness.
Yeah, you got to be you. You got to be who you are. You can't be this person that's been created.
But why? What's the big deal? We read all those books. We saw all those movies that ended that way, and obviously it's a noble pursuit, and that's why those books and movies exist. But why? What difference have you found, Louie, for you that it's made in your life by being a real fry guy?
Because by being real, by being just the fry guy, I believe I've been able to get closer to people, whether it's through relationships or whether it's through getting the job done or whatever. Because you're just real. You're not. I don't take the title to bed with me. It doesn't matter to me.
So what matters to you most?
That I contribute. Try to contribute. I always wanted to be involved in charities. Make it a better place for kids. I'll share a quick story. I was involved with the McDonald House for 30 years plus years, and that's where we're helping kids. And how do you pass that on to your children? To get involved with those type of charities. Well, now that my daughter has couple kids, 3 kids, and now having birthday parties for kids. And she just had, my 5-year-old just had her birthday party, and she said, "Grandpa," to me the other day, "guess how much money we raised for Ronald McDonald House?"
Oh, wow.
And my daughter has taught the kids that when they have their birthday parties, instead of bringing toys to the party or gifts, bring a donation to Ronald McDonald House. And then the 5-year-old took that donation and went to the house and gave it to them.
Wow.
And that's what I feel good about.
That's real. That is great.
And at 5 years old, 7 years old, they're making a difference in the lives of children.
Well, Louie, I want to end our interview today with letting you know that you've made a difference. Your desire to want to contribute and to care really shows up in your willingness to be on the show, and I thank you for that. So what differentiates a trend from a real mainstay? Trends are passing fancies that are popular, but self-awareness, it's timeless, and it's an enrichingly profound pursuit. It can be the root of a path that leads forward and brings you unfathomable joy, like Louie shared with us, or the lack of it can be the root of your deepest pain. To choose increased awareness is to choose a direct path, laden with opportunities that are just waiting for you to appear. Awareness, as promoted commercially, is about things and stuff, and sometimes that actually makes it easy and even noble to reject it. Except when you reject greater self-awareness, you're actually rejecting being more informed, more aware of the impact of the things you do or don't do. Our invitation to you is to examine your own premises and push your limits. And if you're like most of us, then this self-understanding is overdue, and the time is now. So please know that you're invited to contact us via our blog, and if you don't have anything to state, at least know that it exists as an extension of the show, and there is content there, and it's for you. You may find it useful. Thank you for watching the show, though, and mostly please know that next week you are invited back to join us for an interview with Diane Dupuis, visionary entertainer, speaker, and author. Until then, remember to only and always seek truth.